I know I played in the orchestra there. I grew up studying violin, and I played a lot of violin in various and sundry places. And I was singing also at the same time. So I played in the orchestra there, and I can't remember the name of the orchestra leader when I was in junior high school, but they had an orchestra then, and later on bands became the thing to do. I wondered if they were, whoever the band leader was, I can't remember his name, but he may not have been qualified to lead an orchestra. That was my feeling. But
the strings and all, you may not have known those instruments.
And they march it, you know. It's hard to march with a violin. And we had plays, and if there was a vocal part in the play, I always sang in the play, and I did a lot of singing otherwise, and then played the violin. Didn't play the violin much in plays or anything. But then when I got into high school, I remember singing at graduation exercises. I was.
Did you?
I think I was the only one. No, they may have had a choral group too, but I was the only soloist. Which, whether that was good or bad,
at your high school graduation?
Yeah.
So, what was your impression when you first walked in the big school?
It was
What'd you
big.
think? Did you think it was big?
That's all I can remember. It was a lot bigger than what what I'd been subjected to before.
Right.
You know, so
those columns out front and.
Yeah, it was really interesting, but kind of overwhelming, shall we say? Well, there was my particular friend of mine was a guy named Dan Walding, and his father owned a candy company here, which was pretty good from my standpoint. I liked that, and so did my friend Dan. But Dan was a really wonderful actor, I thought, and he could. Oh, he was wonderful. Could tell jokes. If he ever heard a joke, he could repeat it. I was completely the opposite, and he could repeat it and tell it, dialect and everything, you know. And so we got well acquainted, and we ran around together, and that was about all. I don't think we were very. Did a whole lot of things for Lawton, Oklahoma. I don't know. At the time, we just enjoyed it.
You just needed to.
Just kids.
Kids.
Yeah.
Right. Did you take speech or drama?
Yeah, from. Can you remember?
Leslie Howard.
Leslie Howard. She was so good. We really enjoyed later, and got to know her again later on as I became got out of school, and she was so good. Paul
Wilson.
Huh?
Wilson.
Paul Wilson. Why did I say Alan? Anyway, Paul Wilson, and he was one that taught me also, this is as an aside, he taught me how to write I'm left-handed, and he taught me how to write straight up and down with my left hand. I don't, and you know, if at that time you smeared everything if you wrote.
Right.
So that, but I was small for my age. And so when I was in junior high school, I could run faster, I could jump higher, I could do all those things. And one time I won the 50, the 100, the broad jump and the high jump. I won all those things, but just because.
One meet?
In one meet, and I kept those medals for a long time.
Did you? But you liked the movies.
Oh, the movies
think
were
that you
great.
Would.
Yeah, cowboy movies. Bob Steele and Ken Maynard and Tom Mix. I mean, all those old ones. You know.
Now you mentioned something about Medicine Park. I know that was kind of an interesting place. What
Medicine
about that?
Park. He bought a cabin out there, and it was really a pretty nice cabin, not too far from the pool, which was down there a little, maybe, I don't know, maybe a block or two away. and they had a swimming pool down there, and it had a toboggan, they called it. It came down, always spent a lot of time swimming there and toboggan. And then my dad would have people out to the cabin. Well, when Mary Lavinia Young, that I took singing lessons from, and Jack and Don, they would many times come out there, and many friends of theirs, and I got acquainted with all the townspeople at that time, and so they knew kind of who I was, and although I don't think I was very important in their eyes, of course, but it was.
I think you were
as a child.
How would you sum up your school days at Lawton High School?
Well, I thought they were interesting for me as a kid, but I probably should have been more mature and able to learn more. I think I could have done a lot better,
Right.
But that was my fault, not the teachers. I mean, it was, but I really enjoyed growing up at that time. And they had a full band behind me. We have rehearse every day in the afternoon, and then I do the program in the morning. I was on at the same time at the Breakfast Club, and the rating at one time they said my ratings were for Oklahoma City and the Oklahoma area were as good as well as the Breakfast Club, which was pretty well.
Right. You've had a really wonderful life, I think, in Lawton, and your family, all the way from your dad, whom I do remember the name, Walter M. Smith Agency.
Yeah, they were pretty active here in a smaller. He was a member of the Kiwanis Club, and he had been in the Kiwanis Club 50 years, I remember that. So we're joiners. And when we join, it may be hard to get us to join, but when we join, we stay.